Hello and welcome to the second episode of Press A to Play Pokemon. A couple things before we get started. I know I promised you guys that I would walk through this door, but I'm not going to. There was a couple issues that I noticed. Chief among them, I didn't name the rival after somebody on the show, so obviously it's going to be Morbid Murph because he is, as always, the antagonist. And also, I renamed some of the Pokemon. Sorry, I should have done that on screen, but I didn't. So I recaught the Pokemon. Also, I didn't save. That was the big issue of why I had to restart. I didn't save. I turned it off, so I had to redo everything. Not that there was a lot. So Bulbasaur is now Garlic Jr., and Nidorino is now Brandomir, after Brandon on the show. That is what I call him infrequently. But yeah, there's a couple things I had to go back and do. First of which is we're going to go back and get the town map from Morbid Murph's sister. She is holding a map for us, and we have to go get it. It's not particularly important because I know where I'm going, but for the sake of completeness, I'm going to go there. Yeah, I think I've decided I'm going to name most of the team after people from the podcast. I'm probably going to skip Pokemon and just name them something silly if I don't plan on keeping them for very long. But people who I think are going to stay on the team will get a name. I don't know why I'm going here. This is the wrong place. But after we get this map, we will be going back to beat Gary. Another thing people may have noticed, or may or may not know about, is that besides the first fight with Gary down in Oak's lab, you can fight him again if you go towards Victory Road, which is where the final bosses of the games are, but you can't get to them obviously at the beginning of the game. And if you go there, you meet Gary. Again, he has gotten a little stronger, and he's gotten another Pokemon. I believe it's a Sparrow. And he fights you, and it's a little tougher, especially if you're unprepared for it, and he can just wipe you out if you're just walking there, and all of a sudden, hey, here's Gary with level 10 Pokemon, and you might be only a level 5, or like level 6 still, and only one Pokemon. So, I trained up. I don't know if you noticed last time I went to this. Like I said, I will be doing grinding off-air, off-screen, so I don't bore you guys. I didn't get a Mankey like I promised, because I'm just a bad person. I might try and search for him here, or Sparrow, because Sparrow is one of my favorite Pokemon, which I think can open up the discussion for today, which is, well, favorite Pokemon, at least for Gen 1. When I first started playing, like I said, Squirtle is my favorite Pokemon then and now. And I like I said, I liked Nidoking, which will be, I think, is going to stay with the party. But some other Pokemon that I have always liked using, or just aesthetically I think they're cool, are Charizard. Obviously Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard. Great evolution line, starter. Everyone loves them. They're in Super Smash Brothers. Unfortunately got rid of Squirtle, but I can live. But yeah, the Charizard is a cool Pokemon. I can't deny that. Dragon, shoots fire. Come on, why not? I'm gonna battle Gary now. So you just go over here, and there he is. So now he has his new name, Morbid M. I couldn't fit Murph. I couldn't even fit a short form of it without it making no sense. So he's Morbid M. But yeah, Charizard is definitely a cool Pokemon. He used to not be particularly strong. He's just talking about badges. He's letting you know. Sorry, Morbid Murph, not Charizard. He's telling you that you can't get in because the guards won't let you unless you have gym badges. And then he wants to fight you and see if you've gotten any stronger. And I have, only because I grinded for a while. But back to Charizard. He used to not be particularly strong competitively. Shit. But he... God damn it, this is not going to go well. He used to be strong competitive, not strong competitively, just because of his typing. Fire and flying means he has a double weakness to rock, and because stealth rock used to be quite prevalent, he didn't do so well. Simple as that. Goddamn. If I lose again, I'm not gonna be impressed. But yeah, because of his typing and stealth rock prevalence, he wasn't very good. God damn it! He was not used, and people were sad about that because he's so cool. And then he got a Mega Evolution in X, and everyone loves him now. He's got 2 actually. He's just so damn popular, it's annoying. But he's a cool Pokemon, so what can you say? Because of his Mega Evolution, especially the Dragon one, I think X, it's the one that people use, because Dragon typing takes away many of his weaknesses, and also takes away flying, which gave him a lot of his weaknesses. One thing people always forget when I use him online is that Charizard X is not weak to water type anymore because of a dragon immunity, or not immunity, resistance. So it just hits him for neutral damage. Which people always forget, and they use like Hydro Pump or Surf on me, and it doesn't do anything. And I laugh and I kill them with Outrage. But moving on from Charizard, another Pokemon that I really, really like is Pharaoh. For some reason, I just like how Pharaoh looks. I think it has to do with I myself am Polish, and the Polish emblem has I believe it's an eagle. Yeah, it's an eagle, and just the way it looks, it reminds me of Pharaoh. So at an early age that grabbed me, and he's just cool. For some reason, I really like him. I don't know why. He's not particularly strong, especially competitively. He only evolves once, so Pidgeotto I think technically is better. Or do they have the same stats? Well, Pidgeot is better now because he has a Mega Evolution. Oh god, we'll see how this goes. Oh, only level 8. Maybe I have a chance. Yeah. So looking like the Polish emblem is what originally attracted me to Pharaoh, and I just kept using him. For some reason, I have a real affinity for him. Him and Sparrow as well. I think Sparrow is kind of adorable. Yeah. So another Pokemon that I often use is Raichu. Raichu over Pikachu, I think. Raichu just looks cooler. He's stronger. Unless Pikachu's holding a light orb, is it? Some sort of thing that makes Pikachu actually better than Raichu, because Pikachu is the best Pokemon ever and is in everything. Pikachu is all. But yeah, Raichu I really like. He looks cool. Everything from his tail to like he's just this like desert rat thing who shoots electricity. Always made me like him. But again, he's not particularly strong competitively. He seems to be running theme. And no one really uses him, and people often forget about him just because it's always Pikachu, 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 Pikachu. And most people don't know or remember that Pikachu actually evolves. This is a stalemate. I don't know. Did I get leered or something? Have I not been hitting him? Either way. But recently, I think for this playthrough, if I can find him, I'm going to go for Voltorb. Because I mentioned my Nuzlocke run earlier. I was using a Voltorb for the first time, actually, in that Nuzlocke run, and he did work. He's fast, he's got a good, in this game, it would be a special stat. And yeah, I think if he's not the fastest Pokemon, he's one of the fastest. Electrode has one of the highest speed stats in the game. This is taking forever. So I definitely want to go for Voltorb, but I think my favorite electric Pokemon is still Raichu, although Electrode might be second Voltorb's coming up, but right now it's Raichu and Electrode as my favorite Pokemon. Electric type, at least. I don't know if you've noticed, but so far these are all Pokemon from Generation 1. So I'll move on to another unexpected one, which is Nuzleaf, which is actually what the Nuzlocke is in part named after. Nuzleaf, for some reason, I really liked. I didn't like Shaman, and the only reason I didn't like Shaman, which is Nuzleaf's evolution, was because of his like sandal feet things, his ninja clogs, whatever you want to call them. For some reason, I really didn't like that, and it just completely ruined Shaman for me. Shaman? Am I saying it wrong? Nuzleaf's evolution. Sorry if I can't remember him. But Nuzleaf for some reason I really liked. I actually traded, when I first got Sapphire, Pokemon Sapphire, I traded my Torchic for a Nuzleaf for my friend. I had asked for it. He didn't trick me or anything. That's what I wanted. Of course, Torchic now is one of the most overpowered Pokemon in the game, and Nuzleaf is a middle evolution of a fairly mediocre family. But I just loved him. He looked so cool. He was this little badass. He was Grass Dark type, which is such a cool typing. I have to heal, and not just through seeds. So maybe I'll focus on this. Do I keep missing? Oh, I was sand attacked. That's what happened. Okay, that explains a lot. Anyways, but for whatever reason with Nuzleaf, my fascination with him wore off. He's not. I don't consider him my favorite Pokemon. Anywhere in the top 10 of favorite Pokemons anymore. And I've always tried to figure out why I gravitated to him when 3 came out. Just like besides his typing, and I guess he kind of has a cool like stance, which stood out, but yeah, he's not particularly interesting. I'm trying to remember some of his moves. The only thing that sticks out is Grass Whistle, which I think like kills both Pokemon on the field after a certain number of turns, but that I might be remembering it wrong. Might be confusing it with Destiny Bond. But yeah, he was on there and then he went away, and I just never to be remembered again until now. But yeah, there's other Pokemon that always come up. I mean, especially from Gen 1. Like Gyarados was super cool. Dragonite, another cool Pokemon. And I always loved Kabutops. Kabutops for just because him and Scyther, obviously they look very similar, but what nothing happened? Why? Oh, good. Kabutops just looks cool because he's like this predator thing. I always gravitated toward him, and I picked his fossil in Mount Moon over Amistar, but I think I like Amistar nowadays a little bit more, and it's not just because of All Hail the Helix fossil. It's just because he's just this weird like starfish, or not starfish, but like this weird star shelled creature with spikes all over him, and he looks so silly to me, whereas Kabutops actually looks like a badass, that it makes me more interested in Amistar and seeing what he can do. In one of my playthroughs I used him briefly, but because you get him at level 5, and I didn't feel like grinding him up all the way to, at the time, like 40 I think level I had Pokemon or more, so it just wasn't worth it to me, so I never really used him. But maybe in this run I'll do some off-screen grinding and have him on my team, but that won't be until way later. That's a far future thing I'll have to do. So we finally beat Gary. That took forever, and I'm really sorry about that. I was hoping to find a Sparrow or a Mankey in here, and I have to try just because I have to. But if it doesn't work out quickly, then I'll move on to Viridian Forest finally. But I wanted to ask you guys, just in the middle of the episode, what your favorite Pokemon are. There are so many. And there's still ones I haven't touched on, especially from 6th generation. Pokemon like Slurpluff. Oh man, what's his name? The one that's like the swords and shield. Agamon or something like that. I can't remember. Oh god, but he's super cool. I think he's wonderful. Same with Tyrunt and Tyrantrum. Like a giant T-Rex Pokemon. Why the hell not? Come on, that's amazing. How has it taken them so long to come up with that? And lots of the Mega Evolutions. I mean, Beedrill. Beedrill, who we will see his pre-evolutions in the Viridian Forest, got a Mega Evolution. And he looks badass. Just the fact, like, his whole design is super cool. The fact that his, like, stingers... I'm not gonna find these damn Pokemon. The fact that his stingers just, like, can collapse into his body and he becomes, like, this missile. Super cool. Lots of Pokemon have really interesting designs, especially when you dig into them. One good show on YouTube, actually, that you can watch for that is the National Dex. Just these 3 people who talk about Pokemon and stuff. Here's another secret. This tree over here has a potion. I thought it was an antidote, but I guess I was wrong. But yeah, go watch the National Dex. They're super cool. Way bigger than I am, so if you're watching me and not them, I don't know how you stumbled across this. Let's see what's in here. But yeah, the Pokemon NX are super cool, and there's lots of other ones that I can't think of right now that I think are really interesting. So I want to hear your guys' opinions. What Pokemon do you like? What's your favorites? What's your least favorites? I know there's always the ones that come up for least favorites are like Muck, Trubbish and his evolution. What's the ice cream cone Pokemon? Vanillish and his evolutions. And while I don't like Garbodor, to me he looks stupid. I do like Vanillish. The fact that it's just an ice cream Pokemon is so silly to me, and also it's really another Pokemon that I want to try. Just because of its typing. Ice type is such a weird typing because it's so weak to a lot of things, but it has some of the strongest moves in the game. Like, is it the strongest offensive typing? It might be. Just its weaknesses, like to almost everything, is what kill it. I mean, it's weak to ground, weak to fire, weak to rock, weak to steel. Just all these like very prevalent types that it's weak to, and its resistances are very, very few. But it's so strong. That's why it's in a lot of. It's often a secondary type. I'm not gonna find anything here either. I'm just going to be stuck with 2 Pokemon for the whole playthrough. Maybe we'll find a Pikachu. In Viridian Forest, we finally made it. I know it took forever. I'm just going to keep playing. Don't know how long the recording's been going on, but I'll at least get most of the way through Viridian Forest, just because there's lots of trainer battles that you have to do, and my Pokemon just apparently aren't up to snuff. But one thing I want to mention about Viridian Forest is there's lots of items here, lots of cool Pokemon. And it really set the stage, I felt, when I first started playing Pokemon. First, you're in your small town, and the music's very peaceful, and you get your first Pokemon, and like you go off on a little adventure, and you come back, and then you set off again, and you go into this dark forest, which is confusing. There's lots of trainers. Here's one right now, I believe. Oh no, he's just an idiot. There's lots of trainers that you have to fight. And like you encounter status conditions for the first time, and poison. I don't think you can get the paralyzed stat here, but yeah, you can get poison. You have to like take care of your Pokemon because they'll start dying outside of battle. It was a really interesting introduction to the Pokemon world, and you exploring it as a trainer. It was a bit of a ramp. But it's easy enough to get through. And you come across a staple of early Pokemon games, which is the bug catchers. The aforementioned Beedrill pre-evolution Weedle. I've always loved Beedrill. I'll probably catch a Weedle here, just because while originally I liked Butterfree, something about a big bee, like, it's just cool. Come on. It's a bee that stings, and it's not the strongest until it gets a Mega Evolution. But on the other hand, Butterfree learns Confusion, which is, like, it learns it fairly early in the game. So a strong, well, like, any Psychic type move that early in the game will help you out. Caterpie. Fuck. Caterpie's cute too. Maybe I'll catch Caterpie. I don't know. Whichever one's first. That's the one I'll catch. They're not going to stay in the party for long. But. So. Yeah, favorite Pokemon. I mean, there's so many. So many different Pokemon. We're up to, what, almost 800? While I said earlier that I don't like using legendaries, I still find many of them very interesting. I mean, the legendary birds from Generation 1 are still cool. They've kind of forgotten now. But they were always interesting. I still remember catching all three of them. Zapdos, for me, was the most difficult to find, just because I didn't know to go to that area of the map. So I didn't catch him for the longest time. Whereas Articuno also is, like, kind of hidden, but I was drawn to the islands just because that's you're kind of led there. So I went to the Seafoam Islands and I found Articuno, and he was the first legendary Pokemon I caught, actually. And I remember, like, seeing him, like, he was one of the few, yeah, like, up until that point, the only Pokemon that had a sprite in the overworld. So I'm just standing, like, in front of this bird. I don't know what the hell's going on, and I saved before it, which became, not just for me, but for many other people, a staple of Pokemon, which is saving before big fights or legendary Pokemon, so you can keep trying if you accidentally kill them, because they're hard to catch. I feel like in the newer games, they're a lot easier to catch, especially in X. I threw a fastball on the first turn of the Xerneas encounter in X, and I caught him immediately. And that just shouldn't happen. That should be a fight that you have to work hard for to try and get this Pokemon. And it was just like, oh, you caught him first turn. You didn't even hit him, and now you have him. It really kind of takes away from the fun of trying to catch him. And, like, once you've caught him, like, yes, I worked for this Pokemon, and he's level 50 probably, and he's a badass. And then you put him in your box because you don't use legendaries. But yeah, Articuno was the first legendary Pokemon I came across, and it's definitely my favorite of the legendary birds. Don't really use him. I think the most I've ever used him was in the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy, which is another great Game Boy game, which maybe I'll do a playthrough of, just because it's so fun. And I don't know a lot of people who've played it. Actually, that's not true. I know a fair amount of people who've played it, but it's not a game that you immediately think of. But I had a deck with Articuno in it, and that's one of the reasons why I think fondly of him, just because he carried that deck in a Pokemon trading card game. Other legendary birds, I didn't like Moltres for whatever reason. He has the least interesting typing, I think, whereas Articuno and Zapdos both have typings that resist their flying type weaknesses. And Zapdos is cool. I still remember when I think of the three birds, I think back to Pokemon Stadium, the first one. And for some reason, it always stuck out to me the fact that Moltres and Articuno had the same model and animations, and Zapdos was completely different. And only because of that, Zapdos, I liked Zapdos more. Articuno because he was my first legendary, and Zapdos because he was different. He had a different model in Pokemon Stadium from Articuno and Moltres. Just little things in your childhood that make certain Pokemon stick out, and then you grow from that base of Like, oh yeah, I use this Pokemon, and now I remember this because of him, and I remember this because of him, and I learned about this aspect of his design. It's just higher favorites are made, I guess. This is dragging on a little bit, so I guess I won't finish Viridian Forest in this playthrough, just because there's a lot of trainers, and for some reason, I don't know why, it's really hard for me to concentrate right now. Something about talking to an audience, or some such. But more items. There's so many items in Viridian Forest. But I think off screen I'll catch another Pokemon. I kind of want to... No. My mission right now is to catch a Pokemon for you guys. Something half decent at least. Is there another gym trainer over here? A gym trainer? Trainer gym? Trainer gym. I've completely forgotten what I was talking about. Legendary birds. Oh, I was talking about favorite legendaries, ostensibly. Yeah, besides the legendary birds in this game, there's not much, which is something I really like about the old generation of Pokemon. There's just a few legendaries. Because besides them, you have the pseudo-legendary of Dratini. Oh, I'm almost at the end. I'll finish this, then I'll catch something, and I'll end the episode. Sound cool, guys? Great, awesome. So this gym leader, I still remember, when I first started this game, gave me the biggest hassle. I don't know why, he just killed all my Pokemon. Nowadays, he should be easy to beat, because he just has the one Weedle. But I lost to Gary, or rather Morbid Murph, so who knows how this will go. But yeah, actually I'm poison type, so I should be fine. But yeah, besides the legendary birds, it was Mewtwo and Mew. And Mew wasn't really technically in the game, like it was impossible to get him at the time unless you were at an event. So it was just Mewtwo, who was like the final Pokemon. And they were all just special just because they were so, like, oh, there's only one of them in the game, and they're really hard to capture, and if you get them, they're really strong. Which in the other games, like every generation, they've added not just more Pokemon, but they've added like an increasing number of them in each generation. If that makes sense, I'm not saying it right, but like in Generation 1, it was 5. In Generation 2, it was what, 7, 8, and in Generation 3, they added 9 more, or more. And like in every generation, there's just more and more legendaries, and they're all more and more ridiculous. There's more and more ridiculous pseudo-legendaries. I mean, like, Garachomp is so ridiculously strong. Stats-wise, typing-wise, mostly stats. He just has ridiculous attack and speed. Like, it's kind of silly. Like, they're not as special because there's so many of them. And they're all over the place now. That, yeah, they're just catching them is just like, oh, no big deal. They're also easy to catch now. Most of them are part of the story, so you just like, you have to get them. You can't. It's not even that you find them. I think the last really cool legendaries were Weedle. Okay, I'll catch a Weedle. We got one. Level 3. Great. Wonderful. And I don't even think I can hit him without killing him. So yeah, I feel like the legendaries are less special just because there are so many more of them. We finally got a third Pokemon, guys. What are we gonna name it? Hairy Bug. We will name him Press A. And you know why? I hope you do, because I don't. Press A the Weedle. I'm suddenly gaining an appreciation for Let's Players. But yeah, we made it. We talked about some stuff. I don't think I finished a single thought. But we're here. We're at Viridian Forest. And this time I will save. on the next episode, we'll work toward beating Brock, the first gym leader. I hope you had fun, guys. I know I'm rambling a lot, but what can I do? It's just how it goes. Anyways, have fun, guys, and good luck.